It has been over 6 months since the raising of Tal Kreash, and the lands around Nevaz Barag have become even more destabilized than they were during the Saurian onslaught. With the support of the Tritons, Prince Thalvictus went on the offensive, not only against the Saurians, but also taking the opportunity to reclaim lands from all of the other races that called the mountains home, an aggression that has brought him into numerous conflicts. Thal's ruthlessness, while successful, has even led to increased conflicts between his own allies, who found their influence of the Elven prince lessened in light of the victories that the Tritons helped him achieve. Likewise, the alliance of Nevaz Barag has become strained as well. The ogres of Clan Manbreaker, once allied with the Equitaine under Duke Laguerre, have turned their attentions to raiding to expand their wealth, and have not been particularly concerned with who they target. King Thongren Whitehammer blames Laguerre for the damage done to his people by the ogres, and the proud Duke has taken the Dwarf King's claim as an insult to his honor. With diplomatic relations between the two allies crumbling, it was only a matter of time before their forces allowed the aggression of their masters to boil over into bloodshed. And the spark of this conflict is a small mountain pass that has become disputed land between the once allied forces. Hi everyone, well welcome back to the narrative. After a little break and a lot of non-narrative games, we are finally getting back to it. Sorry it has been so long. I know people have been missing it. What was going to be only a couple of week break kind of extended much past that due to scheduling conflicts and what have you. But tonight we have a new narrative of the Dwarven Holds versus the Kingdom of Equitaine in a 4,500 point battle with the Hold the Center objective. We are again using maps from the map pack. This one places a building right in the center of the board, so we are simply using the Twisted Tower there as our objective. So 6 inches from that is going to be the area where we have to contest. So let's go ahead and get into deployment, starting with the forces of Equitaine. So, starting on the left, we have a unit of 10 peasant bowmen. Behind that is a trebuchet. Next to that is a unit of 50 peasant halberdiers with full command. Then we have a unit of 9 Knights of the Realm. I also will note here, Skip is actually missing 2 knights. He didn't realize until like the next day that he had left 2 knights at home, so he's kind of shortchanging himself here. But so the first group of knights is 9 knights, or no, I'm sorry, that is not his Knights of the Realm. That's 8 Knights of the Grail with the Oriflamme and full command. With them in the center of the front rank is his Grail Duke, Duke Laguerre. He has the Dragon Lance, the Armor of Percival, the Talisman of Roland, the Virtue of Daring, and that's it. Oh, and Favor of the Grail upgrade, obviously. Next to that is the 9 Knights of the Realm with full command. Then there is another 8 Knights, 8 Knights of the Realm is first, and in that he has his Damsel, who is a Master Wizard, level 4 spells to Divination, and a Book of Arcane Power. Then there is 9 Knights of the Realm, and in there is his Paladin BSB with the Crusader's Helm, the Gleaming Icon. Although I have no idea why he put the Gleaming Icon in the unit that already has his BSB. Probably just a mistake. The other thing that he has that is not on this list is he is bringing in the Green Knight, who will be ambushing on at some point during the game. Okay, so next, my dwarves. From the left here, we start off with a unit of 10 clan marksmen. They have the guild-crafted handguns upgrade and a musician. Next to them is a vengeance seeker. Next to that is a unit of 20 graybeards with a full command and the banner of speed. I also messed this up. This is kind of my first mistake I made here. I put my king here. He is obviously a dwarf king on shield bearers with the hold stone. He has a runic weapon with the rune of fury, rune of might, rune of penetrating. His runic armor has a single rune of steel on it. I say this is a mistake because I had forgotten I'm playing with uh, the Kingsguard for the first time in a while, and I had forgotten they only have bodyguard for dwarf kings and generals, so I kind of screwed this one up. But the graybeards in this unit are hand weapon and shields. Next to that is my unit of 20 Kingsguard with full command. They have the runic standard of shielding in there. And hanging out with them with the blue banner is my Thane BSB. He also has a hold stone and shield. His runic weapon has 2 runes of fury on it, and his runic armor has 2 runes of iron on it. So both of my characters are 1-up with a parry and shield wall. So I kind of tried to let them do some output damage, but make them pretty survivable as well. Next to that is the Pain Train, my Grudge Buster, making another appearance. Next to the Pain Train is another unit of 10 marksmen. These guys have crossbows. Up on the rock next to them is my second Vengeance. Then over here, we have my rune-crafted Dwarf Ballista. I was bringing that, figuring that he might have some Pegasus Knights, but he kind of undid that to me, but hopefully the armor piercing will help, even though he took the added the bonus to his ward save against armor piercing, so I got to deal with that. Next to that is my unit of Seekers. I have 11 Seekers skirmished with full command. Hanging out in the dead center, well, not quite the dead center of that unit, is my Dragon Seeker. He has the Grim Resolve upgrade, and his weapon has 1 rune of fury, the rune of craftsmanship, and the rune of precision, which basically means he's got a great weapon with an extra attack that he's wielding at initiative 5 because of the lightning reflexes, and he gets an additional attack for every enemy model that's adjacent to him. So the idea is he's going to be able to put a lot of hurting on these knights with those high strength attacks. At least that's my thought. But let's go ahead. We actually went for deployment. Nobody dropped their whole load. We went back and forth for a little while, and he ended up getting finished before me. But due to the rules of Equitaine, he doesn't get the bonus. But in either case, he beat me on the dice. So we go into Kingdoms of Equitaine turn 1. He is rushing his peasants straight forward the Twisting Tower, figuring that he's going to just outlast me to claim the target there, because I've got a lot of bodies to chew through. And he's going to be using his knights mainly to come after me, so that makes a lot of sense. His bowmen ran up into the forest, and that's pretty much it on this side. We were, I think during deployment, we were both kind of trying to lure each other into thinking we were going to drop a lot of stuff on this side, and it just didn't happen. On this side, he moved up each of his knight units like an inch. He knows he's got me beat on movement, and he would love to get some combo charges on this stuff, but I think I'm going to make him work for it, because I'm not going to walk stupidly into no man's land. And then he gets magic and gets it pretty good. He throws Know Thy Enemy off on the peasants just to kind of get some dice. I don't care, because I'm not going to be in combat with him anytime soon. So I let that go off. He also gets scrying off on his wizard's unit to make them a little harder for me to shoot. It's alright, I've got plenty of targets, of other targets anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. But I did try to stop it and just failed, so maybe I'm just speaking after the fact. And then during shooting, he starts off with his trebuchet trying to take out my Greybeards, and misfires a 1, and it is useless for the rest of the game. Wow, that certainly helps. Other than that, he's got 10 archers for shooting, so he's basically lost any pressure he's got to make me come forward. So now the tone and the speed of the game, I'm pretty much going to be in complete control of unless he comes rushing right at me. So super happy about that. So we go to Dwarven Hold's turn 1. I decide to go ahead and leave my gunmen where they are, figuring that they can crack off some shots on those archers and deal with them. I'm willing to put my money on my dwarf graybeards against those peasants, particularly with the king in there, so I start marching them forward. And I go ahead and put the Vengeance Seeker forward. At this point, he's tried to shoot it and just completely missed, so I'm willing to let that tie up his shooting from those archers until I can get him close enough to get the attack. Because I still have to go get the points for the ballista and those guys, since they don't just blow up like they used to in the previous game. So I think, like, by himself, provided he doesn't get shot up, he could probably take both of those without too much trouble. So that's the ultimate thought there. Oh, and I forgot to mention when I was talking about my deployment, the other thing I brought was the anvil. I That's the only magic I have. I haven't played with it before, so it's no wonder I forgot it, and I think I didn't even catch it in the pictures earlier. But it has the Rune of Shattering, the Rune of Gleaming, and the Rune of Resilience on it, mainly just for support. So over here, I decided to kind of leave a lot of space. He's got like 20 or 21-inch charges on everything, which means he can't really get into anything except for the Vengeance Seeker up front. And I'm kind of throwing the Vengeance Seeker out just to see if he'll fall for it and come rushing out, and then I can countercharge. But I don't really expect him to do that. Worst case scenario, once he starts moving, the Vengeance Seeker can kind of pick a target and go where I need him to go. I also start the Seekers rushing up with a full march on the far side there. That little hill-looking thing with the rocks on top of it is impassable. So I'm not really sure if I'm going to aim to go around it with the Seekers or wait for him to come out and send the Seekers into his flank. But they're pretty mobile for dwarves. I mean, they get 9-inch move and they're skirmishers, so they can kind of do what they need to do. During magic phase, the anvil gets the Rune of Gleaming off on my Greybeards, just in case he decides to shoot them instead, make them a little bit more tough. Then during shooting, I end up not doing great and only kill 2 of the archers, not even enough to provoke a panic. Over here, I do... What do I shoot over here? I might have gotten the Pain Train close enough to take a shot at him. That's what it looks like. Yeah, I think that might be it. Either that... No, it couldn't be. I'm not that close. That actually might have been from magic, too. I think I might have gotten the rune off on... The Rune of Shattering off and only did 1 wound there. Because then I fire with the Bolt Thrower and do another... I guess looks like 2 wounds. So they're down 3 in that Knight of the Realm unit that has his BSB in it. Which is good. The more of those guys I can get rid of before I have to engage them, the better off I'm going to feel. So then we go to KOE turn 2. He tries, realizing that I'm just going to sit there and deplete his BSB. He tries to charge... I think he tried to charge at the Vengeance Seeker and just rolled garbage. So he comes up just a few inches, and that's really all he's got here. He decides to go ahead and not quite form up a line, but he's bringing his other 2 knight units forward so that he's not completely left stuck out there all alone. Then he goes into magic phase. Wizard pops the unerring strike off the Vengeance Seeker and blows him off the table. Then we go into my turn 2, and I charge the archers with the Vengeance Seeker, and he takes a shot and actually sneaks 2 wounds through. Not enough to kill the Vengeance Seeker, and he comes right for him. I'm still thinking that Vengeance Seeker is going to eat this unit and probably overrun, and I'll go after the Trebuchet later. Then everything up here, I move up just a little bit. Actually, I bet that one dude that died last turn, I bet was from my crossbowman. That would make sense. But I'm here now so I can get some just like farthest range shooting. I'm also kind of seeing if he's going to go for any of his units going after the Pain Train. If he does, then I can move the 2 dwarfs in on the flank if he doesn't just outright kill the thing, which is entirely possible. You can see up at the top right, I move the Seekers around to get ready to countercharge if he does come forward. The downside, what I'm doing now, I think I've been playing the Saurians too long, because I'm not really taking into account the 3 movement for the charge range, so I'm leaving myself kind of long charges, which could be a problem. Over here, I do another quick march to get within the flank of the peasants, and I have just enough movement so that I can tilt myself so that I'm not within the sight of his peasants, so he can't charge me next turn. He'll have to reform. I also decide I have no other real good shots, so I start bringing up the gunmen to support the ranks dwarves if need be. Because I don't want him to squeak in a free wound here, I go ahead and pop the Rune of Resilience on the Vengeance Seeker, so he's going to have to be at -1 to wound, so he's needing 6s. And I get the Rune of Gleaming here because it gives hard target and distracting. And I figure if he does squeak one of these knight or both of these knight units in, that might be the one thing that'll keep the Pain Train alive. So my shooting was garbage. I didn't hit anything this round. And then we go into combat. The Vengeance Seeker kills all but 2 of the archers, and they actually break and escape from him. So that's where they are. So we go to KOE turn 3. He tries this Knight of the Realm unit and the Grail Knight unit into the Pain Train. I stand and shoot the Knight of the Realm unit, and I don't think I kill anybody. It doesn't look like it. But then he obliges me by rolling absolute garbage on the Knights of the Realm, or the Grail Knight unit, and they do not get in. The Knights of the Realm unit are there. The downside about this now is that since there's only one of the Night Realm blocks, or the Night blocks here, if he does kill the Pain Train, he is small enough just to shoot right between the gap of my other 2 units and get out of there. So, I really just, in my opinion, I need a miracle to have them not break and have it be able to still use the counter charges I was setting up. Over here, his peasants obviously fail to rally, and they roll like 12 for their flee, hit the edge of the trebuchet, and run off the board. And over here, he reforms and moves the peasants, so they're going to square up right against my dwarves. Again, I am not afraid of this. It might take 3 or 4 rounds of combat, but I've got this cold. Those peasants aren't going to kill a whole group of dwarves plus a dwarf king. It's just not going to happen. And over here, I think I might have actually done some shooting because he's only got 3 knights left in this unit. He bails with his BSB, so the BSB is now hiding behind the Grail unit. His other knights come around and essentially are sacrificing themselves to the Seekers to keep them from getting into too much. Then he goes into magic and throws Know Thy Enemy up, which I'm not happy about because the last thing I need is him doing even more against me. And it's going to counteract the hard target, or the distracting that he's got up. So I'm thinking this could be very problematic. Also, we forgot to take a picture until this point, but the Green Knight did show up on the table, and there was just enough room for him to slide right behind my anvil, so he's going anvil hunting. So then we go to combat, and boy howdy did the knight screw this one up. He fluffs like ridiculous. He does 0 wounds to the pain train. I choose to grind back. Well, because I didn't charge, I had to grind, duh. But I actually killed 3 knights with the grind. So I win this one. He does have steadfast, so of course he's not going anywhere. But I'll be honest, it almost might have been better for him had he actually broke and run off, because that unit with his wizard in it is going to die now. Because we go into my turn 3, and I first decide to go ahead and charge the trebuchet and make it. Excuse me. And then I go ahead and charge the flank of the remaining knight unit with both the King's Guard and my marksman with great weapons. So there's a lot of can openers converging on those knights. You can also see here, I went ahead and took the offered knight unit and charged my Seekers in. I decided to go ahead because I know I'm going to have to deal with those Grail Knights, so I need to keep some of the King's Guard alive. I throw the Rune of Gleaming on them to make it unlikely that his Knights are going to hit me. I don't really have any good targets for shooting. I also keep forgetting that my Bolt Thrower is in the forest because I have it under that. Like, I don't usually put them under those kind of bases, and it's just blending into the terrain, and I keep forgetting about it. But the Vengeance Seeker goes ahead and murders the trebuchet. So this was kind of stupid. He's got 3 knights here. I step up with my character, who is right in between 2 of them, and I get like 7 or 8. Strength 8 attacks at initiative 5, and I kill 1 guy. The rest of the Seekers don't kill anything. He kills 1 Seeker, might be 1 Seeker. So I end up winning by the charge. But he ends up breaking, and I catch him, but I bounce off of the impassable terrain here, so I don't move anywhere, but I do kill those 3 knights, so that's good points. But I can't believe this character I spent so many points on to make him just a blender against high armor stuff just did not do anything. It was just like 410 points down the drain. Obviously over here, these knights did not stand a chance. Between the grinding, the great weapon attacks, yeah, I beat all of the knights to death and then still had enough attacks left over to murder the damsel that was in there, so they didn't even get to break. I reformed here to get ready for the Grail Knights coming in, and I'm still feeling okay. Skip's never had a lot of luck with his Grail Knights, and I can output a lot of damage here. So I'm kind of expecting him to not go after the Kingsguard and hit the marksman, which if he does, he's probably just going to blow them apart. But it will give me some time and some opportunity to chase him around. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So KOE turn 3 or turn 4, he decides to go ahead and slam his peasants into my king's brick. So again, not worried about this. You can also see he goes over and is trying to decide whether he should try his luck with his BSB against the Vengeance Seeker with 1 remaining wound. And over here, he surprises me. Rather than go after the easy target, Skip decides to take his big old pile of Grail Knights and shove them right down the Kingsguard's throat. This is about the point in the game where I realized that I have the BSB in here instead of my general and king, so these guys are not steadfast, or not stubborn. So I've just got to beat him the old-fashioned way to death. So we'll see how that works. He did also get his charge, obviously, with the Green Knight against the Anvil. So he has no magic left, no shooting left, so we go into combat. He managed to kill 1 dwarf. I managed to take out more than a whole rank of peasants, but he is steadfast like crazy for a while, and he sticks. Over here, the Green Knight only manages to do 2 wounds to the Anvil. Anvil's unbreakable, so I'm not going anywhere. And then over here, holy God, he ends up doing a ridiculous number of wounds. I do get a few back, mainly thanks to my BSB being a badass before things go down. But he's got a lot of high strength attacks, and he beats me down. I think I only have like the BSB and 1 rank of the Kingsguard left. And I auto break. He beat me that bad, and he easily runs the dwarves down. So he got the Kingsguard and my BSB unit. Luckily, neither the Pain Train nor the Crossbowman break, but now I've got problems because he's really kind of owning this side of the board, and the one real strong combat brick, my Seekers, are way away from me being able to do anything. So, my turn 4, I decide I need to push up the Seekers real quick. I figure he's going to run the priests, or not the priests, the Grail Knights away from me, so I'm just running the Seekers towards the side of the Peasant Brick to go ahead and just chop them up to free my King's unit. Everything else is turning in the center to try and blow up some Grail Knights. And I unload like crazy, only to find that the Oriflame gives him a 4-up ward save against all shooting. So between all of the shooting I have over there, I inflict a single wound on the unit. We go into combat. He ends up putting 2 more wounds on the Anvil. I can't do anything back. I lose, but I'm still unbreakable. Over here, he kills 1 more dwarf. I kill like 2 ranks of peasants. He's still steadfast and doesn't go anywhere. And here we made a screw up. Something happened that kind of distracted us for a little bit during the middle of the game. So when we came back, we had forgotten what turn we were on. So we thought this was turn 6. We actually shorted ourselves a whole turn. So my opponent decided to just get his knights the hell out of dodge and try and conserve the points. So he ran way over here thinking this was his last movement turn. He also decided not to take the risk with his BSB and ran him out of the line of sight of my Vengeance Seeker. Then we go into combat, and finally the Green Knight manages to kill the Anvil. Up here, I do a bunch of damage. He doesn't kill anything else. I think he might not even be steadfast anymore. In either case, he broke, but the peasants managed to escape from the short, stubby dwarf legs. And then we go into what I thought was Dwarven Holds turn 6. I charge my king's unit at the peasants. They flee, and I manage to catch them and run them down. Over here, I move up my one remaining scoring unit that's anywhere close to this area to the objective to claim that. And everything else, I try and circle around here. I figure I might as well try and do some shots on the Green Knight, because I figure he would be easier to kill and get the points for than the unit of Grail Knights. And I open fire with everything I can open fire with and inflict a single wound. So not even enough to get the half points. And that's pretty much where we ended it, because, like I said, we thought this was the end of turn 6. As the remaining Grail Knights returned to the camp, Laguerre dismounted and threw his reins at one of the squires and marched into his tent. Tossing his sword on the table, he sank into his chair, not even bothering to remove his armor. He stared at his battle map for what seemed to be hours, when a soft voice whispered to him from the tent's entrance. "My duke, the stout folk allowed us to retrieve our wounded and dead. They are being given proper treatment and rites." "Are you wounded?" the young damsel asked. "Only my pride, my lady. Thank you," he responded. "My duke!" A loud voice came from behind the damsel and rushed by her. It was Sir Garon, leader of the Knights Forlorn. "Forgive the intrusion, my duke, but my men and I have just returned from the edge of the mountains. The Dark God's minions have returned, and are moving against the dwarves. I do not know if the stout folk are aware of them. Should we send warning?" the young knight asked, eagerly waiting for a response. Laguerre sighed, thinking of the destruction of the day's battle. The dwarves may not be an ally now, but they did not deserve to be overrun by his most hated enemy. "Garon, alert Sir Draethor to fly to the dwarves. Tell them of what you've seen, and prepare our forces to assist if necessary. The Dark God's power must not be allowed to run free here." So, after we totaled up the points, it ended up being a 12-8, but because I did claim the scenario, that turned it into a 15-5 for the Dwarven Holds. I don't know that much would have changed if we had played this out another turn, like we were supposed to. Really, I think the only chance was, I mean, he probably would have moved his stuff differently had he realized he had another turn, so I probably wouldn't have gotten any charges off on anything. So I would have had probably one more turn to shoot at the Green Knight, maybe claim the points for him. But I don't even know that that would have been enough to change the ultimate outcome in terms of the victory points. All in all, I thought it was a good game. We both kind of agreed it felt like a more even game than Skip and I have had in the past. I think he is very interested in kind of refocusing on his armies a little bit. He is actually going to be downsizing his collection down to 2 armies, as he and I are going to be trading some armies. I'm going to take a couple of his off his hands, and he is going to receive my Warriors of the Dark Gods. So he kind of wants to focus on 2 armies. He's still kind of got the idea of a third in the back of his mind, but I don't know that that's going to come to fruition anytime soon. And I think it'll help him. I think I can feel the difference when he's playing Equitaine because he's focused on that army by itself for a while, so I think he's a little better with it. Um, and I really think that kind of focus will help him to kind of learn the army better. In the past, he's kind of let his attentions wander, so he's not been great at any of the other armies because he just hasn't put the time into it. But I thought it was solid. The Grail Knights came through like a dream for him this game. Um, in part because, I mean, he took advantage of the opening, took the risk, and went for it. And in part, too, because I think there's a huge difference in terms of the Kingsguard compared to the normal Deep Watch brick I bring. I think if he had charged those Grail Knights into the Deep Watch, he probably would have bounced off them. They're just so much better defended than the Kingsguard. But I don't want to take any kudos away from Skip. He saw that. He knew that that was a big point unit. And if he was going to have a shot, he needed to take him out and hit him when he needed to hit him. And I think it would have been good. I think it would have been a very different game, too, if he had succeeded that first charge with the Grail Knights into the Pain Train. Because I think the Grail Knights plus the Realm Knights would have destroyed that, and with the way they would have had to maximize, the overrun would have sent the Realm Knights into my marksman and would have sent the Grail Knights into the Kingsguard, and probably would have wiped out both of those units, kind of in hindsight. And that would have done a lot of damage, because then he pretty much would have owned that whole section of the board, could have reformed and come after my units a little bit better. It just turned out the dice went against him and he wasn't able to capitalize on that. But other than that, it was pretty good. His trebuchet crapping out on him turn one did not help either. He could have been in much better shape if he had had the opportunity to soften up some of my units before he had to come at him. So I'm sure that's something that's not great for him. But all in all, it was a lot of fun. My list was pretty standard. I still don't like the Kingsguard as much as the Deep Watch. But all in all, I don't regret taking them. I think it can help play to a little bit closer games when I use something different, just because the Deep Watch are so good. And you park a big group of them in a King or even a BSB, and it's going to be hard to move them. So I think choosing an alternate choice makes me have to play sharper, and I did not do that in this game. Like I said, with the way I had clumped everybody up there around the Pain Train, if he had gotten both of those charges, I would have been screwed, and that was just sloppy playing. I also completely wasted the points with the Seekers. It was a lot of points, and they did basically nothing. Again, just kind of sloppy play, which makes me nervous since it's a little over a week to Southern Assault GT. So hopefully I'm getting all my sloppy play out now, and I'll go in at least not embarrassing myself. I fully don't expect to win or to really even place very well. I just want to go in there and not embarrass myself. If I can do that and have a good time, then it'll be a good weekend. But so if you guys have any advice on either of our lists, or advice for me, since I'll be starting up Beast Herds and Sylvan Elves soon, and Skip will be starting up Warriors of the Dark Gods. We would love to hear your opinions and thoughts on that, and I hope you guys have enjoyed us getting back to the narrative. If you haven't checked it out yet, the video I did previous to this is my discussion of how I'm going to be using the tournament games in our narrative. So there is parts of that that are going to be story-based. So if you want to kind of follow and understand what's going on, definitely check that video out as well. But if you guys like this one, please like the video, subscribe, and if you feel interested in doing so, visit my Patreon, whose information will be in the comments, and help support the channel. It would be very much appreciated. Well, again, hope you guys like this one, and we will catch you on the next one.